Heaven is watching closely, and this moment is not accidental, delayed, or misdirected. You did not arrive here by coincidence, and this message did not cross your path casually. In the unseen realm, attention has narrowed, focus has sharpened, and spiritual activity has intensified around your life. There are moments when heaven observes from afar, and there are moments when heaven leans in. This is one of those moments. The atmosphere around you is charged because something has reached a turning point. What you are hearing right now is not merely a message, it is a summons. A pause hath been declared in the spirit, and all eyes are fixed on how you respond. Archangel Michael speaks with authority because his assignments are never light, and his words are never casual. He does not appear for routine matters. He is dispatched when alignment, obedience, and timing converge. When Michael speaks, it is because heaven has already moved into position. Angels have been dispatched with instructions, clear, specific, and precise, but they have not yet been released to act. But detail matters. It means the mission is prepared, the outcome is authorized, and the power is available, yet the final motion is waiting on something only you can provide. Heaven has done its part. Now the unseen realm is waiting for your response. This is where many misunderstand what divine intervention truly looks like. People assume heaven moves independently of human awareness, but scripture and spiritual law reveal a deeper truth. Heaven responds to agreement. Angels do not move simply because something was promised. They move when alignment is established. That is why this message carries weight. It is not here to inform you. It is here to confront you with a decision. Heaven is not asking if you are interested. Heaven is asking if you are willing. There are rare moments when time itself seems to slow in the spirit. This is one of them. Instructions have already been written concerning you. Assignments have already been prepared. Resources have already been allocated. Yet there is a pause, not because heaven is unsure, but because heaven honors human response. Free will is not a weakness in God's design. It is the doorway through which divine power flows. And right now, the doorway stands open, waiting to see whether you will step forward or remain still. You may feel an unusual stirring as you listen, an internal pressure that feels like urgency without panic, importance without fear. That is not anxiety. That is awareness. Something within you recognizes that this moment carries consequence. Archangel Michael's message is clear. Angels were dispatched with instructions, but whether they move or stand down will be determined by how you respond to what you are hearing now. Not later. Not someday. Now. This is why distraction has been increasing around you. This is why doubt has been whispering louder than usual. The enemy does not fight what does not matter. Resistance intensifies at moments of release. Heaven is watching not to judge you, but to witness your alignment. The unseen realm is listening not for perfection, but for agreement. A single response rooted in faith carries more authority than silent understanding ever could. Understand this clearly. This is not about earning anything. This is not about proving worth. This is about position. When heaven prepares movement, it looks for posture. When angels are dispatched, they look for a signal. And that signal is not noise. It is response. Too many miss divine movement because they recognize the message but never answer it. Awareness without response creates delay. Recognition without agreement creates standstill. You may have been asking why things felt so close yet remained untouched, why answers seemed prepared but unreleased. This is why. Not because heaven withheld, but because heaven waits for alignment. There are moments when God acts unilaterally, and there are moments when He invites participation. This is the latter. And the invitation itself is proof that you are trusted with consequence. Archangel Michael does not bring empty warnings. His words carry clarity because the stakes are real. Angels standing down is not punishment. It is protocol. Heaven will never force movement where alignment is absent. That is why this message is arriving before action, not after. Mercy always precedes movement. Instruction always comes before execution. Right now, heaven is not measuring your past. It is watching your present posture. It is not asking where you failed. It is asking where you stand. The unseen realm is attentive to your words, your agreement, your willingness to respond. And your response does not have to be loud, but it must be real. This is the moment where many scroll past, hesitate, or delay, unaware that heaven marked this exact intersection of time and attention. But you are still here. You are still listening. And that, in itself, is not random. Something is aligning even now as you hear this message. The pause in the spirit remains, but it will not last indefinitely. Heaven is watching closely. Angels are ready. Archangel Michael has delivered the message. What happens next depends on what you do with what you have just received. There is a difference between heaven preparing a move and heaven releasing a move, and that difference is where many destinies quietly pause. Archangel Michael reveals something most people never consider. Angels can be fully dispatched, fully instructed, and fully ready, yet still standing by. This is not delay from God. This is design. In the divine order, nothing is chaotic, nothing is right, and nothing is wasted. Every instruction given in heaven carries precision, and every pause carries purpose. When angels are dispatched with instructions, it means the assignment has already been authorized. The blueprint exists. The route has been mapped. The outcome has been approved. Nothing is missing on heaven's side. Yet scripture and spiritual law show us again and again that angelic movement is often activated by human alignment. This is why prayers spoken in agreement shift atmospheres. This is why declarations spoken in faith break resistance. Angels respond to authority, and authority flows through alignment. Right now, angels are not confused about what to do concerning you. They are not waiting for clarity. They are waiting for confirmation. A confirmation from heaven. A confirmation from you. This is where responsibility enters the conversation. Not pressure, not fear, but responsibility. Heaven does not partner with hesitation. It partners with decision. Many people misunderstand delays and assume they mean denial. But often, delay simply means heaven is waiting for a signal that has not yet been sent. Instructions can be written, but execution requires alignment. Think of it this way: the door can be unlocked, but still unopened. Power can be available, but still untapped. Angels do not force doors open. They move when permission is established through faith-filled response. This explains why some blessings feel like they almost arrived. Why answers seem close enough to touch but never fully manifested. Why momentum built, then stalled. It is not because the instruction was revoked. It is because the activation point was never crossed. Heaven is orderly. Angels operate under command, not assumption. Archangel Michael's message is sobering because it removes illusion. It tells you plainly, angels were dispatched with instructions, but your response to this message will decide whether they move or stand down. Not because heaven is fragile, but because heaven is just. Free will is honored even when miracles are prepared. God does not override your posture. He responds to it. This is why awareness alone is insufficient. Knowing something is coming is not the same as agreeing with it. Watching is not the same as responding. Heaven listens for more than understanding. It listens for alignment. The response can be spoken, declared, acted upon, or surrendered internally, but it must be real. Half-hearted agreement creates partial movement. Clear agreement creates release. Notice how often Scripture connects angelic activity with obedience, prayer, and declaration. Angels moved when Daniel prayed. Angels appeared when Mary agreed. Angels were released when words aligned with heaven's will. This pattern has not changed. What has changed is how often people expect movement without participation. Right now, heaven is watching for evidence of agreement, not performance, not perfection. Agreement. That is why this message does not rush you with fear but presses you with clarity. There is urgency here, but it is the urgency of opportunity, not threat. Heaven is saying, everything is ready. Will you step into position? This is also why distraction feels heavier than usual. When alignment is near, interference increases. The enemy cannot stop heaven's instruction, but he can attempt to delay human response. Confusion, busyness, overthinking, and spiritual numbness are tools of hesitation. Yet even now, clarity is breaking through as you listen. Here is where your response becomes active, not passive. If this message resonates, if something within you recognizes its weight, do not remain silent. Engagement itself is a form of alignment. When you acknowledge a message sent from heaven, you step into agreement with it. Silence, on the other hand, often signals uncertainty, and heaven does not move on uncertainty. This is why I ask you to respond outwardly, not just inwardly. Participate. Declare alignment. Let your response be visible. If this message speaks to you, take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who may be standing at their own moment of decision, and subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to what heaven continues to release. This is not about algorithms. It is about agreement. Engagement is not random. It is responsive. When you comment, you are not typing into emptiness. You are declaring awareness in the seen and unseen realms. When you share, you are extending alignment beyond yourself. These actions matter more than you realize. They are signals. They are responses. They are moments where heaven sees posture turn into participation. Do not underestimate the power of responding while the window is open. Angels are attentive. Instructions are intact. The pause remains, but it will not remain forever. Heaven does not beg, but it does invite. And invitation always carries a time frame. You are not being pressured. You are being positioned. This message is not asking you to strive. It is asking you to agree. A moment agreement is established, movement follows. That is how heaven works. That is how angels are released. And that is why what you do next matters more than what you have already heard. The instruction has been given. The angels are ready. Heaven is watching. And your response is already unfolding. There is a spiritual law that few are taught but everyone eventually encounters. Heaven responds to agreement, not awareness. Knowing that angels exist does not activate them. Understanding that God has a plan does not release it. Even believing something is meant for you does not automatically set it in motion. Movement begins when response replaces observation. This is why Archangel Michael's message carries such weight. It draws a clear line between those who hear and those who answer. Right now, heaven is not waiting for you to become more spiritual, more qualified, or more certain. Heaven is waiting for response. The response is not perfection. It is posture. It is the inward and outward alignment that says, I agree with what heaven has declared over my life. Angels recognize agreement as authority. They move when alignment is established, not when information is processed. This is why silence is never neutral in the spirit. Silence can mean peace, but it can also mean hesitation. And hesitation creates pause. When angels are dispatched with instructions, they are not waiting for emotional readiness. They are waiting for spiritual consent. Consent does not always sound dramatic. Sometimes it is a quiet but firm decision within the heart. Other times it is a declaration spoken aloud. But it is always intentional. Many people unknowingly stand at the edge of breakthrough while remaining internally undecided. They feel the pull of destiny but hesitate to respond because response requires responsibility. When you respond to heaven, you step into alignment, and alignment carries weight. It shifts how the unseen realm engages with your life. This is why heaven never forces response. Forced agreement has no authority. Chosen agreement does. Archangel Michael's warning is not meant to alarm you, but to awaken you. Your response determines motion because your response establishes position. Heaven does not override free will to deliver blessing. It honors free will by offering invitation. And invitation always requires reply. When you reply, you authorize movement. When you delay, you authorize pause. You may be wondering what kind of response heaven is looking for. It is not performance. It is not religious display. It is alignment of will. Agreement that says, I am willing to move when heaven moves. Agreement that says, I will not remain passive when God is speaking. Agreement that says, I choose faith over familiarity. This is why declarations matter. Words spoken in faith are not empty sound. They are signals. Angels are responsive to the language of agreement. When you speak in alignment with heaven's will, you are not informing God of anything. He already knows. You are positioning yourself within the flow of what has already been prepared. That is why Scripture says life and death are in the power of the tongue. Not because words are magical, but because they reveal alignment. Your response also reveals trust. Trust is not the absence of questions. It is the presence of obedience despite questions. Heaven moves when trust is demonstrated, not when every answer is provided. This is where many miss their moment. They wait for clarity before response, but heaven often releases clarity after response. Movement precedes understanding. Right now, angels are listening for agreement, not explanation. They are watching for posture, not perfection. They are attentive to whether you remain passive or become responsive. And the response does not need to be loud, but it must be decisive. This is the moment where some choose comfort and others choose calling. Comfort keeps you observing. Calling invites you to respond. Heaven does not activate destiny through comfort zones. It activates destiny through alignment. Let this be clear. Your response is not about proving faith to God. It is about positioning yourself to receive what heaven has already prepared. Angels standing by are not withholding blessing. They are honoring protocol. And protocol demands response. As you listen, something within you already knows this is true. And that inner stirring is recognition. Recognition is heaven's way of confirming timing. And timing is what makes response urgent. Not rushed but urgent. There is a window open right now. Windows do not remain open indefinitely. They are held open by alignment. So respond. Internally, outwardly, decisively. Choose agreement over hesitation. Choose alignment over analysis. Choose response over silence. And as you do, receive this blessing now. Type I agree with heaven in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 813 is now activated. This number marks alignment, and alignment releases motion. Hold on. What comes next changes everything. As this message settles in your spirit, hear this clearly. When you support this work, you are not funding a channel. You are sowing into souls heaven is already watching. I hear the Lord say, what you release becomes a river I use to reach the unseen and the unheard. This word goes forth like seed on open ground, and your giving is oil that keeps the fire burning. I am speaking to you directly now. This is your moment to respond, not later, not someday. Just as angels wait for alignment, this mission advances through obedience. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, links in the description and the PayPal QR code on screen, you are answering a divine invitation. I declare that every seed you release returns as clarity, protection, and acceleration. Obey now. Let heaven see your response. There are moments in life when heaven opens a window, and there are moments when that window quietly closes, not with noise, not with warning signs flashing, but with a gentle shift in the spirit. Archangel Michael's warning is not dramatic for the sake of fear. It is precise for the sake of mercy. He speaks of missed windows not to condemn, but to awaken. A window is not a threat. A window is an opportunity bound by time. And time, once past, does not rewind. Heaven operates with perfect timing, yet timing does not remove choice. Divine windows open when preparation meets permission. They remain open while alignment is present. But when hesitation replaces agreement, windows begin to narrow. This is not because God withdraws His goodness, but because purpose moves forward even when people stand still. Heaven never abandons destiny, but it may route how and when it unfolds. Archangel Michael warns because delay often disguises itself as wisdom. Many believe they are being cautious, discerning, or patient, when in truth they are postponing response. Discernment brings clarity. Delay brings dullness. One sharpens vision. The other slowly numbs urgency. Heaven can tell the difference even when humans cannot. Missed windows rarely feel dramatic in the moment. They feel quiet, comfortable, even. That is what makes them dangerous. There is often relief in not responding, relief from responsibility, relief from uncertainty, relief from change. But that relief is temporary. What follows is stagnation, confusion, or the haunting sense that something important passed by unclaimed. Archangel Michael did not warn because heaven is harsh. He warns because heaven is precise. Angels are not emotional beings. They are executors of divine order. When a window closes, it is not because angels became unwilling, but because the moment they were assigned to has passed. Assignments are time-sensitive. Instructions are not eternal invitations. They are opportunities aligned to specific seasons. This does not mean destiny is destroyed. It means destiny may be delayed, reshaped, or fulfilled through a more difficult path. Heaven is merciful, but mercy does not erase consequence. When windows are missed, God often redeems, but redemption may require more effort than obedience would have required. This is why Michael's warning carries weight. It is easier to move when heaven moves than to recover momentum after standing still. Many people ask why certain prayers seem unanswered, why progress slowed, why clarity faded. Often, it traces back to a moment when heaven spoke clearly, and response was postponed. Not rejected, just postponed. And postponement slowly became position. Heaven did not leave. The windows simply closed. Understand this. Missed windows are not punishment. They are protocol. Heaven honors free will even when free will chooses delay. God will never force you through a door you refuse to walk toward. Love does not coerce. It invites. This is why Archangel Michael's message is urgent but compassionate. He is not accusing. He is alerting. He is saying, do not treat this moment casually. When heaven speaks with clarity, it is because clarity is required. Ambiguity at this stage leads to loss of alignment. There is also mercy embedded in the warning itself. The fact that you are hearing this means the window is still open. Heaven does not warn after closure. It warns before. That alone should bring sobriety and gratitude. You are not too late, but you are being told that time matters. Spiritual hesitation often feels logical. It sounds like waiting for confirmation, seeking counsel, or gathering information. While those can be wise, they become dangerous when used to avoid response. Heaven confirms through peace and alignment, not endless analysis. When heaven speaks repeatedly, clarity has already been given. Archangel Michael's warning is also about stewardship. Windows are entrusted, not guaranteed. What heaven opens, it expects to be honored. When moments are stewarded well, more authority is given. When moments are ignored, responsibility is reassigned. Not because heaven is cruel, but because purpose must continue. There are things assigned to your obedience that no one else can fulfill in the same way. But if you choose not to respond, heaven does not collapse. You adjust. Others may be raised. Paths may shift. What was meant to be light may arrive as labor instead. The promise remains, but the process changes. This is why urgency is mercy. This is why warning is love. Archangel Michael is not speaking to frighten you, but to focus you. The window is still open. Angels are still attentive. Instructions are still active. But heaven will not wait indefinitely for indecision to resolve itself. The question is not whether God is faithful. He is. The question is whether you will respond while the moment is alive. Windows close quietly, but obedience opens doors loudly in the spirit. Hear this warning as grace. Hear it as protection. Hear it as heaven leaning close and saying, do not miss what was prepared for you. The moment is still yours. The window is still open. And what you do next will determine whether movement follows or memory remains. There are moments when heaven draws close quietly, without spectacle, without announcement, and without disruption to the natural flow of life. Angels do not always arrive with thunder or visible signs. Often, their nearness is felt before it is seen. This is why many overlook what is already happening around them. They are looking for dramatic confirmation, while heaven is offering subtle alignment. One of the first signs angels are near is a shift in atmosphere. You may notice a heightened sensitivity and awareness that feels deeper than emotion. Ordinary moments carry unusual weight. Silence feels louder. Decisions feel heavier. This is not confusion. It is focus. When angels draw near, the spiritual environment sharpens. Distractions that once worked no longer satisfy. The noise that once comforted now irritates. This is alignment beginning to form. Another sign is repetition. You begin seeing the same themes, words, or messages appearing from different directions. Conversations echo one another. Scriptures surface repeatedly. Even unrelated moments seem to point toward the same inner prompting. Angels operate with precision, and repetition is one of heaven's ways of confirming proximity. It is not coincidence, it is coordination. You may also notice pressure increasing just before breakthrough. This pressure is not meant to crush you. It is meant to position you. Resistance often intensifies when angelic movement is near. This is because what is about to shift threatens what has been holding ground. Do not misinterpret resistance as failure. Resistance often confirms nearness. Another overlooked sign is internal stirring without clear explanation. You feel drawn to pray, reflect, or withdraw slightly from noise, not out of fear but out of instinct. Angels do not always demand action immediately. Sometimes they prepare the heart first. This stirring is heaven's way of aligning your inner world before outer movement occurs. Dreams can also become more vivid or symbolic during times of angelic proximity. Not always prophetic in detail, but charged with meaning. You may wake with a sense that something important was communicated, even if you cannot fully articulate it. Angels often communicate through layers, spirit to spirit, before understanding catches up. You may also experience a strange dissatisfaction with old patterns. What once felt acceptable now feels heavy. Habits that once seemed harmless now feel misaligned. This is not condemnation. It is refinement. When angels are near, they do not only prepare blessing, they prepare posture. Certain things must loosen their grip so alignment can deepen. Another sign is an increase in decision points. Small choices subtly feel significant. You sense that what you choose now carries consequence beyond the moment. This awareness is not anxiety, it is responsibility awakening. Angels are attentive to decision because decisions determine direction. Heaven watches moments where paths diverge. Peace is also a powerful indicator. Not the absence of trouble, but a steady calm beneath movement. Even when circumstances feel uncertain, something within you remains anchored. This peace is not emotional numbness. It is spiritual assurance. Angels often bring peace as confirmation that heaven is involved, even before outcomes change. At the same time, discernment becomes critical. Not every sign is divine, and not every feeling is spiritual. Angels draw near to align, not to confuse. This is why stillness matters. Discernment grows in quiet. When heaven is near, rushing leads to misinterpretation. Slowing down allows clarity to surface. Distraction is the enemy's favorite response to angelic proximity. Sudden busyness, unnecessary conflict, and mental noise often increase when heaven is preparing movement. These are not random. They are attempts to pull attention away from alignment. Recognize them for what they are. Attention is currency in the spirit. Where your attention goes, alignment follows. You may also notice that help appears unexpectedly. People offer support without knowing why. Doors crack open just enough to reveal possibility. These are not full breakthroughs yet. They are indicators. Heaven often signals before it shifts. Angels prepare terrain before they move fully. Do not dismiss subtlety. Heaven is not always loud. Some of the most significant movements begin quietly. Elijah learned that God was not in the wind, earthquake, or fire, but in the still, small voice. Angelic nearness often feels like that voice, gentle, persistent, undeniable. If you sense these signs around you, do not rush ahead, but do not remain passive. Awareness is not enough. Alignment requires response. The signs are not the destination. They are the invitation. Angels near you are not there to observe. They are there to execute. But execution follows agreement. This is why discernment matters now more than ever. Pay attention without paranoia. Respond without fear. Allow the signs to guide you toward alignment, not speculation. Heaven is near, not to overwhelm you, but to work with you. Something is already in motion. The question is not whether angels are near. The question is whether you will recognize the nearness and respond while alignment is forming. before anything ever shifts in the visible world, is first written in the unseen. Heaven does nothing impulsively. Every movement begins with instruction, and every instruction carries intent, timing, and order. When Archangel Michael speaks of angels being dispatched with instructions, he is revealing something precise. What concerns you has already been documented in the spirit realm. This is not a vague plan or a hopeful possibility. It is a defined assignment. Angels do not improvise. They do not guess. They do not adjust based on emotion or circumstance. They move according to what hath been written. Instruction in the spirit realm functions like a sealed command, clear, deliberate, and exact. That is why alignment matters so deeply. When you align, you step into what is already written. When you resist or delay, you step out of position, even though the instruction itself remains intact. Here are things written concerning you that you have never seen with natural eyes. Decisions already accounted for, obstacles already anticipated, provision already assigned. Heaven is never surprised by what you face. What surprises many people is realizing that instruction exists before manifestation. We often think heaven reacts to life, but in truth, life unfolds according to what heaven has already prepared. This is why certain moments feel inevitable. You may have felt pulled toward something without knowing why, or restrained from something that looked reasonable. That pull is not random. It is alignment pressure. The spirit realm recognizes when you are drifting from or drawing closer to what is written. Angels are sensitive to that movement. They are not just watching circumstances. They are watching posture. Instructions written in the spirit realm are specific, but they are also conditional. Not conditional on worth, but on alignment. Heaven does not revoke instruction easily, but it will not execute instruction in misalignment. This is not punishment. It is protection. Executing a blessing at the wrong time or in the wrong posture can do more harm than good. This is why some prayers feel unanswered even when heaven has already said yes. The yes exists in the instruction, but the release waits for alignment. Timing is not about delay. It is about readiness. And readiness is not emotional confidence. It is spiritual positioning. Angels assigned to you know what they are sent to do. They know where to go, what to shift, what to protect, and what to open. But they also know when to pause. A pause does not mean abandonment. It means protocol is being honored. Heaven values order more than speed. What arrives out of order often creates confusion instead of clarity. This is also why obedience matters more than enthusiasm. Enthusiasm can be emotional and fleeting. Obedience is steady and precise. Instructions written in the spirit realm respond to obedience because obedience signals alignment. When you obey, even without full understanding, you step into position. And position gives angels permission to move. You may wonder why certain doors did not open even though you prayed sincerely. It is often because the instruction was tied to a different posture than the one you were standing in. Heaven does not force-fit blessings into misaligned seasons. It waits until posture and timing converge. There is also mercy in this system. If heaven executed everything immediately, many would be overwhelmed by what they were not ready to steward. Instructions are not only about outcomes, they are about growth. Angels are sent not just to deliver, but to guard the process. Sometimes the greatest protection is delay, but do not confuse protection with stagnation. When instruction remains unexecuted for too long, momentum weakens. Not because heaven forgets, but because humans drift. Alignment requires maintenance. Just as faith must be renewed, posture must be revisited. Heaven does not move on yesterday's obedience if today's posture has shifted. This is why this message matters now. It is not introducing something new. It is calling you back into alignment with what was already written. Heaven is not writing your assignment. It is waiting for you to step back into position so execution can resume. Instructions in the spirit realm are living, not static. They respond to movement. When you move toward alignment, they activate. When you retreat into hesitation, they pause. Angels are not offended by questions, but they cannot act on indecision. Understand this clearly. What is written concerning you has not expired, but it does require response. The spirit realm honors clarity. A clear yes carries more authority than a silent maybe. Heaven moves on agreement, not assumption. Right now, instruction and opportunity are converging. The pause you feel is not emptiness, it is anticipation. Angels are attentive. The assignment is intact, and alignment is within reach. What you choose now determines whether what is written remains pending or finally begins to unfold. There is a reason this message reached you, and it goes deeper than chance, curiosity, or timing in the natural sense. Heaven doth not scatter messages like this randomly. When Archangel Michael speaks with this level of clarity, it is because the recipient is capable of carrying the weight of what is being revealed. Not everyone is shown what you are being shown, and not everyone is invited into moments of decision like this. Selection in the spirit is never about favoritism. It is about assignment. Many people live their entire lives without being confronted with moments that require conscious alignment. They drift, respond to circumstance, and remain reactive rather than responsive. But there are others, few but intentional, who are positioned at intersections where their response determines movement not just for themselves, but for what is connected to them. This message found you because you are one of those intersections. Heaven sends messages where they will be recognized. Recognition does not mean instant understanding. It means resonance. Something within you knew this message mattered before you could explain why. That inner recognition is not emotional. It is spiritual memory. Your spirit remembers what your mind is still processing. That is why this moment feels weighty. Weight reveals responsibility. This message did not find you because you are perfect. It did not find you because you have done everything right. It found you because you are positioned to respond. Heaven trusts you with choice. That alone speaks volumes. Choice is not given where obedience is impossible. Invitation is not extended where response is unlikely. There are many who would hear this message and dismiss it. Others would hear it and feel curiosity, but no urgency. But you are still here, listening, leaning in, sensing that something is being asked of you. That tells you everything you need to know about why this message found you and not others. Responsibility is often misunderstood as pressure. In truth, responsibility is evidence of trust. Heaven does not burden people unnecessarily. It entrusts those who can carry weight without collapsing under it. This does not mean you have all the answers. It means you have the capacity to choose alignment even when answers are incomplete. There is also a cost to awareness. Once heaven reveals something, ignorance is no longer an option. You cannot unhear what has been spoken. This is why messages like this are not widely distributed to everyone in the same way. Awareness demands response, and response demands courage. This message found you because there is something connected to your obedience that extends beyond you. People, outcomes, shifts, and openings are tied to your alignment. Heaven often chooses individuals whose obedience unlocks movement for others. You may never see the full scope of what your response affects, but heaven does. Do not mistake this for superiority. This is not elevation. It is assignment. Assignment carries responsibility, not entitlement. Heaven does not reveal to impress. It reveals to engage. When something is revealed to you, it is because you are meant to steward it. You may wonder why others around you seem unaware or uninterested in spiritual matters that feel urgent to you. This is not a gap in intelligence or faith. It is a difference in assignment. Not everyone is called to the same intersections. Not everyone is required to decide at the same depth. Comparison only distracts from responsibility. This message also found you because you are capable of discernment. Discernment does not mean you never struggle. It means you can sense when something is significant even if it unsettles you. Heaven values that sensitivity. Angels are often assigned to those who can perceive subtlety, not just spectacle. There is also a timing element. This message did not find you 5 years ago, nor will it find you 5 years from now in the same way. It found you now because now is when response matters. Seasons change, assignments evolve, and windows open according to readiness. Your readiness is not perfection. It is availability. Heaven does not require you to understand everything before responding. It requires you to trust what had been revealed enough to take the next step. That next step may be internal or external, quiet or visible, but it must be intentional. This is why ignoring this moment would feel heavier than engaging it. Your spirit knows that neutrality is not an option here. You are either lying or postponing. Both are choices. Heaven respects both, but only one releases movement. This message found you because heaven is asking something of you. Not something unreasonable. Not something beyond your capacity. Something specific. Something timely. Something that requires response. You were not singled out to be overwhelmed. You were chosen to be aligned. And alignment always precedes movement. What you do with this message will not only define this moment, it will shape what comes next. There is a specific moment when heaven leans in and listens, not for noise, not for explanation, but for signal. This moment does not arrive loudly. It arrives quietly, often disguised as a choice that feels small but carries unusual weight. Archangel Michael reveals that angels are not only dispatched with instructions, they are trained to recognize timing. And timing is revealed through response. Heaven listens for alignment the way a lock listens for the correct key. This moment is not about emotion. It is about decision. Faith is not a feeling. It is a frequency. When your will aligns with heaven's will, that frequency becomes clear. Angels are attentive to it. They do not move because circumstances are difficult or because desire is strong. They move when alignment is unmistakable. This is why heaven listens, not passively, but precisely. The signal heaven listens for is not volume. It is clarity. A quiet yes spoken with conviction carries more authority than loud words filled with uncertainty. Heaven recognizes posture instantly. Indecision creates static. Agreement creates signal. Right now, the unseen realm is tuned to that signal in your life. This is why delay is more dangerous than doubt. Doubt can still respond. Delay often hides behind logic, waiting for conditions that will never feel perfect. Heaven does not wait for perfect conditions. It waits for willing hearts. Angels are released when willingness becomes action, not when circumstances become convenient. You may feel pressure at this moment, not external pressure, but internal urgency. That urgency is not fear. It is timing. When heaven listens closely, it is because the window is narrow. Narrow does not mean fragile. It means focused. This is a moment of precision, not panic. Faith expresses itself through movement. Movement can be as simple as a declaration, a decision, or an act of obedience that feels small but costs comfort. Heaven watches for cost because cost reveals value. When you choose alignment, even when it disrupts routine, heaven recognizes authority. This is also why overthinking increases right before response. Logic begins to argue for delay. Past disappointments resurface. Questions multiply. None of this surprises heaven. It is part of the threshold. Thresholds always challenge comfort before releasing change. Angels stand at thresholds, not to intimidate, but to witness decision. Heaven listens for the signal that says, I am ready to move with you. Not tomorrow. Not when I understand everything. Now, that signal may be internal, but it must be real. Heaven is not impressed by performance. It responds to sincerity. There is a danger in mistaking caution for wisdom. Wisdom responds when heaven speaks. Caution waits until heaven repeats itself. Repetition is mercy, not requirement. When heaven repeats, it is giving space, not extending the window indefinitely. Each repetition carries urgency rather than impatience. Right now, heaven is listening. Angels are attentive. Instructions are live. The question is not whether heaven will respond. It always does. The question is what heaven is responding to. Silence sends one signal. Agreement sends another. Action sends the clearest signal of all. This moment does not demand perfection. It demands alignment. Alignment is simply choosing to stand where heaven is moving. It is choosing obedience over explanation, trust over control, faith over familiarity. If you feel exposed by this moment, that is not condemnation. Exposure is light. Light reveals what must move so alignment can deepen. Heaven listens in moments like this because this is where destiny shifts quietly, without applause. Do not underestimate the power of now. Heaven responds to now. Yesterday's obedience does not replace today's decision. Tomorrow's intentions do not activate today's instruction. Angels move when alignment is current. As you listen, let this truth settle. Heaven is not distant. It is attentive. It is not waiting for you to impress it. It is waiting for you to align with it. This is the moment heaven listens for your signal. Type I am aligned in the comments if you feel this stirring within you. Blessing code 942 is now activated. This number marks precision and release. You'll be glad you stayed for what's about to be revealed. In this sacred pause where heaven is listening, hear this invitation clearly. When you support this work, you are placing oil in the lamp that carries this light to those still waiting for their signal. The Lord is saying now, as you sow, I open rivers where others see deserts. I am speaking to you directly. This is not a request. It is a calling to participate. Just as your alignment releases angels, your giving releases reach, clarity, and breakthrough for countless souls. Use Super Thanks, become a member, or give through PayPal. The link is in the description and the PayPal QR code is on the screen. I declare that your seed returns as peace, protection, and acceleration. Act now. Let obedience speak louder than intention. When angels move, the shift is rarely announced, but it is unmistakable. The change does not always arrive with noise or spectacle, yet everything begins to rearrange with precision. What once resisted now loosens. What once delayed now accelerates. This is the nature of angelic movement, quiet authority producing undeniable results. When heaven releases angels, outcomes begin aligning faster than explanation can keep up. The first thing that often happens is internal clarity. Confusion lifts, not because every answer is given, but because direction becomes clear. Decisions that once felt heavy suddenly feel settled. This clarity is not emotional relief. It is alignment settling into place. Angels often move first within you before they move around you. Inner order precedes outer breakthrough. Next, resistance begins to weaken. Obstacles that seemed immovable start shifting without force. Conversations change tone. Delays dissolve. Favor appears where effort once failed. This does not always mean everything becomes easy, but it does mean everything becomes purposeful. When angels move, effort aligns with outcome. Wasted motion disappears. Another sign of angelic movement is acceleration. Things that should take long begin happening quickly. Timelines compress. Processes simplify. This is not chaos. It is divine efficiency. Heaven redeems time when alignment is restored. What felt lost is not always returned the same way, but momentum replaces stagnation. Angels also bring protection, not always by removing danger, but by redirecting you away from it. Missed opportunities suddenly reveal themselves as avoided traps. Paths that closed begin to make sense in hindsight. When angels move, protection often looks like redirection rather than resistance. Provision is another marker. Not always in excess, but in sufficiency arriving at the right moment. Needs are met with precision. Resources appear through unexpected channels. Help comes without strain. This is not coincidence. Angels are assigned to manage provision according to instruction. They move resources as easily as they move circumstances. There is also a shift in spiritual authority. When angels move, your words carry weight. Prayers become focused. Declarations feel grounded. You stop striving to convince heaven and begin partnering with it. Authority replaces anxiety. Confidence replaces hesitation. This is not arrogance. It is alignment expressing itself. Relationships also begin to realign. Others fade naturally without conflict. Angels do not force separation, but they do create clarity. When alignment increases, misalignment becomes obvious. This is not loss. It is refinement. Heaven removes what cannot move forward with you. Importantly, angelic movement does not mean instant perfection. Challenges may still arise, but they no longer dominate. They serve purpose rather than create paralysis. When angels move, challenges become assignments, not obstacles. This is why alignment matters so deeply. Angels do not move to impress, they move to execute. Their movement serves instruction, not comfort. But instruction always leads toward life, growth, and fulfillment. This is also why response matters publicly as well as privately. When angels move, testimony follows. Testimony reinforces alignment. Speaking about what heaven is doing keeps posture active. Silence after movement often leads to drift. So respond now. Engage while momentum is forming. If you sense heaven moving, do not remain passive. Like this message as a declaration of agreement. Share it so others can recognize their moment too. Subscribe to this channel so you stay aligned with what heaven continues to release. These actions are not casual, they are signals of continued alignment. When you testify, even briefly, you reinforce what heaven has begun. When you engage, you remain positioned for what comes next. Alignment is not a one-time decision. It is a maintained posture. Here is the truth many miss. Angels move, but they also watch. They observe whether alignment is sustained. Movement invites stewardship. What heaven releases, it expects to be honored. Gratitude, obedience, and attentiveness keep momentum alive. If angels are moving in your life, do not rush ahead, but do not fall behind. Walk with what heaven is doing. Stay responsive. Stay aligned. Stay aware. And remember this: angelic movement often begins quietly but ends visibly. What starts as internal clarity becomes external change. What begins as subtle alignment becomes undeniable breakthrough. Hold this truth close, because what comes next will determine how far this movement goes. When angels stand down, the silence can be misleading. It does not announce itself as failure, nor does it arrive with visible consequence. In fact, it often feels like nothing happened at all. Life continues. Days move forward. Circumstances remain mostly unchanged. And that is precisely why standing down is so dangerous to misunderstand. What is absent is not activity, it is momentum. Angels standing down is not punishment. It is permission. Pause. Heaven does not withdraw love, calling, or destiny, but it does honor posture. When alignment is uncertain, angels do not force execution. They wait. And waiting, when prolonged, subtly reshapes outcomes. One of the first effects of angels standing down is stagnation disguised as normalcy. Nothing collapses, but nothing progresses. You may feel like you are working harder with less result. Effort increases, yet fruit decreases. This is not because heaven is against you, but because heaven is no longer accelerating what is being done outside of alignment. What once flowed now requires strain. Another sign is repeated cycles. You revisit the same challenges in different forms. Conversations repeat. Lessons resurface. Patterns reappear. This is not coincidence. When angels stand down, heaven often allows repetition as an invitation to recognize what was missed. Repetition is mercy's language. It asks, "Are you ready to respond now?" Clarity also begins to fade. Not suddenly, but gradually. What once felt certain becomes foggy. Direction feels less defined. You may still believe, still pray, still hope, but confidence is thinner. This happens because clarity is sustained through alignment. When alignment weakens, clarity does too. Heaven does not confuse, but it will not maintain direction where posture has shifted. Angels standing down also affects timing. Opportunities that once aligned naturally now require force. Doors that seemed open begin to resist. This does not mean those doors were wrong, but it does mean the moment may have passed. Timing is as much a part of instruction as outcome. When angels stand down, timing often becomes the cost. Another effect is emotional fatigue. Not because life is harder, but because effort no longer matches reward. You may feel tired without knowing why. This fatigue is not physical, it is spiritual friction. You are moving, but not in the stream of grace that makes movement lighter. Grace flows through alignment. Outside of it, everything feels heavier. It is important to understand that angels standing down does not mean heaven has abandoned you. God does not withdraw his presence. He withdraws permission for execution until alignment is restored. This is why prayer may still feel sincere, yet results remain distant. Heaven hears, but it waits. Free will is honored even when it chooses hesitation. Heaven will never override your decision to pause. It will respect it. And respect sometimes feels like silence. Not because heaven has nothing to say, but because it already spoke. This is where many misinterpret God's character. They assume silence means rejection, when in truth it often means invitation still stands. Angels standing down are not dismissed. They remain assigned. but they do not act until posture changes. Another consequence is redirection without explanation. Paths begin to shift unexpectedly. Plans unravel, not violently but quietly. This is not sabotage, it is containment. Heaven contains movement when execution would produce harm, confusion, or wasted authority. Standing down is sometimes protection, even when it feels like loss. There is also a relational effect. When angels stand down, certain connections may feel strained or distant, not because people change, but because alignment changes. Heaven often removes momentum from relationships that were meant to move with you but cannot without alignment. This creates emotional discomfort, but it prevents deeper misalignment later. Perhaps the most sobering effect is missed acceleration. When angels stand down, life continues at human pace instead of divine pace. What could have unfolded swiftly now unfolds slowly. What could have been resolved easily now requires endurance. Heaven can still redeem time, but it prefers not to waste it. Yet even here mercy remains. Angels standing down does not mean angels are gone. It means heaven is waiting for your signal again. The invitation has not expired unless the season has fully passed. Many seasons overlap. Heaven is patient, but patience is not permission to delay indefinitely. This is why this message matters. It is not spoken to accuse, but to alert. Standing down is reversible. Alignment can be restored. Response can still be given. Heaven does not shame delay. It corrects it with clarity. If you recognize these signs, stagnation, repetition, fading clarity, spiritual fatigue, do not despair. Recognition itself is grace. It means heaven is still communicating, still inviting, still watching. The most dangerous posture is not hesitation, it is indifference. You are not indifferent. You are listening. And that means angels are still attentive. What happens next depends on response. Standing down is not the end. It is the pause before a decision. And heaven is still waiting. There comes a moment when instruction becomes unmistakably clear. No more warnings. No more explanations layered upon explanations. Just a direct, steady directive that cuts through confusion and brings everything back into focus. This is that moment. Archangel Michael's final instruction is not complex, but it is demanding. Not demanding of effort, demanding of honesty. Heaven is not asking what you feel. Heaven is asking where you stand. The final instruction is this: align now. Not partially, not cautiously, not with conditions attached. Alignment is not agreement in theory. It is agreement in direction. It is choosing to stand where heaven is moving, even if it requires letting go of what feels familiar, safe, or controllable. This instruction does not come with emotional reassurance first. Peace follows obedience, not the other way around. Archangel Michael's authority is quiet here, but absolute. He is not persuading. He is instructing. Angels are not waiting for further detail. They already have it. What they are waiting for is your posture to match the instruction already written. Alignment is the bridge between instruction and execution. This instruction requires immediacy. Not haste, but immediacy. There is a difference. Haste is rushed and fearful. Immediacy is decisive and calm. Heaven does not want you anxious. It wants you aligned. The longer alignment is postponed, the more complicated execution becomes. Simplicity belonged to obedience. Complexity grows in delay. One of the most difficult truths to accept is that internal agreement without external shift is still misalignment. You may believe the right things, desire the right outcomes, and pray sincere prayers, yet still remain out of position if your actions do not reflect agreement. Alignment eventually expresses itself through movement. It may be a conversation, a decision, a release, a declaration, or a step of faith that costs comfort. But it will always require movement. Archangel Michael's instruction also addresses fear disguised as wisdom. Waiting until you feel completely ready is not wisdom. It is avoidance. Heaven does not prepare people by removing fear. It prepares them by teaching obedience in the presence of fear. Courage is not confidence. Courage is alignment despite uncertainty. There is also an instruction regarding focus. Heaven is calling you away from unnecessary noise. Too many voices dilute alignment. When heaven speaks clearly, additional opinions often create confusion rather than confirmation. This does not mean isolation. It means discernment. Not every voice deserves equal weight. Alignment requires listening to the right source at the right time. Another part of the instruction is surrender of control. Angels cannot execute what you insist on managing yourself. Control creates resistance in the spirit. Trust creates flow. Heaven does not require you to understand the full path, only to release the illusion that you must. Control delays movement because angels will not override human insistence on managing outcomes. Archangel Michael's instruction also involves consistency. Alignment is not a moment. It is a maintained posture. One clear response opens the door, but sustained obedience keeps it open. Heaven watches not only for initial agreement, but for continued alignment. This is why small daily decisions matter. Alignment is reinforced through consistency. There is also a call to internal integrity. Align your private posture with your public declarations. Heaven responds to what is real, not what is performed. Angels are not impressed by language. They are activated by sincerity. If something in your life contradicts what you are declaring, address it honestly. Correction restores alignment faster than denial ever could. This final instruction carries reassurance as well. You are not being asked to do something impossible. You are being asked to do something specific. Heaven never instructs without provision. What alignment requires, grace supplies. You will not step forward alone. Angels do not wait at the destination. They move with you as you align. Archangel Michael's message ends where responsibility begins. There is nothing more to explain, nothing more to clarify. The instruction is simple because simplicity demands response. Complexity allows avoidance. Heaven has removed complexity so response can be clear. Do not look for another sign to confirm this moment. The clarity you feel now is the confirmation. Do not wait for circumstances to change before aligning. Alignment changes circumstances. Do not expect fear to disappear before you respond. Response weakens fear. This is the instruction. Choose alignment now. Step into position. Release hesitation. Move with heaven, not behind it. Angels are attentive. Instructions are ready. The pause has served its purpose. What happens next is not about what heaven will do. Heaven has already decided. What happens next is about what you will do with what you now know. And this time, the instruction is final. Let this settle into your spirit before anything else is said. You are not too late. Heaven is not finished with you. The fact that you are here, listening to this final word, is proof that mercy has been active all along. Heaven does not close with accusation, it closes with assurance. And the assurance now is clear. Alignment is still possible, movement is still available, and grace is still present. Many believe that urgency means condemnation, but heaven's urgency is rooted in love. God does not rush you to shame you, He calls you to awaken you. This message ends not with fear, but with confidence. Not with pressure, but with peace. What heaven prepared has not evaporated. What angels were assigned has not been erased. The window you were warned about did not close while you were listening. It stayed open because listening itself is a form of response. Archangel Michael's final tone is not one of warning, but of stability. Heaven wants you anchored, not anxious. The greatest misunderstanding about divine timing is the belief that one hesitation disqualifies a destiny. That is not how God works. Heaven accounts for struggle. It anticipates fear. It even plans for moments of delay. What heaven does not ignore is response when it finally comes. You are not being measured by how quickly you reacted. You are being measured by whether you will align now. Alignment restores momentum. Agreement reactivates movement. Obedience resets timing. This is why heaven speaks assurance at the end, because reassurance strengthens resolve. Let go of the narrative that you missed everything. That voice does not come from heaven. Heaven convicts, but it does not condemn. The enemy accuses to paralyze. God reassures to mobilize. If you were truly too late, heaven would not still be speaking. Silence would have followed. But heaven is still engaging you because heaven still intends to move with you. This is the moment where peace replaces pressure. Not because the assignment disappears, but because clarity settles in. You no longer need to wrestle with whether this message was for you. You no longer need to analyze every detail. The work of discernment has already been done. What remains is trust. Trust does not mean certainty about outcomes. It means confidence in direction. Heaven has given direction. Alignment now feels simpler because assurance has removed fear. You are not stepping into the unknown alone. Angels do not wait for you at the finish line. They move with you from the first step of alignment. Whatever was paused can resume. Whatever slowed can accelerate. Whatever felt distant can draw near again. This is not optimism. It is protocol. Heaven responds to present posture, not past hesitation. The moment alignment is restored, movement follows. Let peace settle where anxiety once lived. Let confidence replace self-doubt. Let obedience become lighter now that fear has been addressed. Heaven is not standing over you with a stopwatch. It is standing with you, ready to move as you move. And now, receive this final blessing with intention. Type "I receive alignment" in the comments if this message has settled in your spirit. Blessing code 619 is now activated. This number marks restoration, completion, and forward motion. What was paused is re-engaging. What was waiting is now released. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are positioned. Heaven is watching, not to judge but to move with you. Angels are attentive, not to stand down, but to execute. Archangel Michael's message concludes not with uncertainty, but with assurance. Walk forward now. Alignment is yours. Movement follows. As this message completes its work in you, hear this final call with clarity and authority. When you support this mission, you are helping heaven reach those who are still waiting to hear that they are not too late. The Lord is declaring, as you release into my work, I release light where darkness has lingered. I am speaking to you personally now. This is your moment to act as a steward of what you have received. Your giving through Super Thanks, channel membership, or PayPal, linked in the description and shown by the PayPal QR code, is not a donation. It is obedience. I declare that every seed you sow returns as alignment, protection, and open doors. Heaven marks those who respond. Give now. Seal this moment with action.